Human defilements. There are two kinds of worldly passions that defile and cover the purity of Buddha nature. The first is the passion for analysis and discussion, by which people become confused in judgment. The second is the passion for emotional experience, by which people's values become confused. Both delusions of reasoning and delusions of practice can be thought of as a classification of all human defilements. But really, there are two original worldly predicaments in their bases. The first is ignorance, and the second is desire. The delusions of reasoning are based upon ignorance, and the delusions of practice are based upon desire, so that the two sets are really one set after all, and together they are the source of all unhappiness. If people are ignorant, they cannot reason correctly and safely. As they yield to a desire for existence, graspings, clingings, and attachments to everything inevitably follow. It is this constant hunger for every pleasant thing and seen and heard that leads people into the delusions of habit. Some people even yield to the desire for the death of the body. From these primary sources, all greed, anger, foolishness, misunderstanding, resentment, jealousy, flattery, deceit, pride, contempt, inebriety, selfishness, have their generations and appearances. Greed rises from wrong ideas of satisfaction. Anger rises from wrong ideas concerning the state of one's affairs and surroundings. Foolishness rises from the inability to judge what correct conduct is. These three, greed, anger, and foolishness, are called the three fires of the world. The fire of greed consumes those who have lost their true minds through greed. The fire of anger consumes those who have lost their true minds through anger. The fire of foolishness consumes those who have lost their true minds through their failure to hear and to heed the teachings of Buddha. Indeed, this world is burning up with its many and various fires. There are fires of greed, fires of anger, fires of foolishness, fires of infatuation and egoism, fires of decrepitude, sickness and death, fires of sorrow, lamentation, suffering and agony. Everywhere these fires are raging, they not only burn the self, but also cause others to suffer and lead them into wrong acts of body, speech and mind. From the wounds that are caused by these fires, there issues a pus that infects and poisons those who approach it, and leads them into evil paths. Greed rises in want of satisfaction, anger rises in want of dissatisfaction, and foolishness rises from impure thoughts. The evil of greed has little impurity, but is hard to remove. The evil of anger has more impurity, but is easy to remove. The evil of foolishness has much impurity and is very hard to overcome. Therefore, people should quench these fires whenever and wherever they appear by correctly judging as to what can give true satisfaction, by strictly controlling the mind in the face of the unsatisfactory things of life, and by ever recalling Buddha's teachings of goodwill and kindness. If the mind is filled with wise and pure and unselfish thoughts, there will be no place for worldly passions to take root. Greed, anger, and foolishness are like a fever. If a man gets this fever, even if he lies in a comfortable room, he will suffer and be tormented by sleeplessness. Those who have no such fever have no difficulty in sleeping peacefully, even on a cold winter night, on the ground with only a thin covering of leaves, or on a hot summer's night in a small, closed room. These three, greed, anger, and foolishness, are therefore the sources of all human woe. To get rid of these sources of woe, one must observe the precepts, must practice concentration of mind, and must have wisdom. Observance of the precepts will remove the impurities of greed. Right concentration of mind will remove the impurities of anger, and wisdom will remove the impurities of foolishness. Human desires are endless. It is like the thirst of a person who drinks salt water. One gets no satisfaction and one's thirst is only increased. So it is with a person who seeks to gratify one's desires. One only gains increased dissatisfaction and one's woes are multiplied. The gratification of desires never satisfies. It always leaves behind unrest and irritation that can never be allayed. And then, if the gratification of one's desires is thwarted, it will often drive one insane. To satisfy their desires, people will struggle and fight with each other, king against king, vassal against vassal, parent against child, brother against brother, sister against sister, friend against friend. They will fight and even kill each other to satisfy their desires. People often ruin their lives in the attempt to satisfy desires. They will steal and cheat and commit adultery, and then, being caught, will suffer from the disgrace of it and its punishment. They will sin with their own bodies and words, sin with their own minds, knowing perfectly well that the gratification will ultimately bring unhappiness and suffering. So imperious is desire. And then the various sufferings in the following world and the agonies of falling into it follow. Of all the worldly passions, lust is the most intense. All other worldly passions seem to follow in its train. Lust seems to provide the soil in which other passions flourish. Lust is like a demon that eats up all the good deeds of the world. Lust is a viper hiding in a flower garden. It poisons those who come in search only of beauty. Lust is a vine that climbs a tree and spreads over the branches until the tree is strangled. Lust insinuates its tentacles into human emotions and sucks away the good sense of the mind until the mind withers. Lust is a bait cast by the evil demon that foolish people snap at and are dragged down by into the depths of the evil world. If a dry bone is smeared with blood, a dog will gnaw at it until it is tired and frustrated. Lust to a human is precisely like this bone to a dog. One will covet it until one is exhausted. If a single piece of meat is thrown to two wild beasts, they will fight and claw each other to get it. A person foolish enough to carry a torch against the wind will likely burn himself. Like these two beasts and this foolish person, people hurt and burn themselves because of their worldly desires. It is easy to shield the outer body from poisoned arrows, but it is impossible to shield the mind from the poisoned darts that originate within itself. Greed, anger, foolishness, and the infatuations of egoism, these four poisoned darts originate within the mind and infect it with deadly poison. If people are infected with greed, anger, and foolishness, they will lie, cheat, abuse, and be double-tongued, and then will actualize their words by killing, stealing, and committing adultery. These three evil states of mind, the four evil utterances, and the three evil acts, if added together, become the 10 gross evils. If people become accustomed to lying, they will unconsciously commit every possible wrong deed. Before they can act wickedly, they must lie, and once they begin to lie, they will act wickedly with unconcern. Greed, lust, fear, anger, misfortune, and unhappiness all derive from foolishness. Thus, foolishness is the greatest of the poisons. From desire, action follows. From action, suffering follows. Desire, action, and suffering are like a wheel rotating endlessly. The rolling of this wheel has no beginning and no end. People cannot escape such reincarnation. One life follows another life according to this transmigrating cycle in endless recurrence. If one were to pile the ashes and bones of oneself burnt in this everlasting transmigration, the pile would be mountain high. If one were to collect the milk of mothers which he suckled during his transmigration, it would be deeper than the sea. Although the nature of Buddhahood is possessed by all people, it is buried so deeply in the defilements of worldly passion that it long remains unknown. That is why suffering is so universal and why there is this endless recurrence of miserable lives.